My name is Sarah Paulem.
My name's Joyce.
My name is Wendy.
My name is Patricia.
My name is Violet.
So my name is J.R. Guo.
My name is Kaylin.
My name is Tam Thuy.
My name is Sambo.
Because I believe everyone has the capacity to recover.
So my name is J.R. Guo. Back in January 2018, I flew back to Taiwan, my birth country. So the reason I'm going back, I flew back is to pay respect to my mom. Unfortunately, she passed away months prior to that. So I still remember when I was sitting in the airplane, as the airplane started descending into the island Taiwan, right? For folks that out there ever flew into Taipei, you know that it circled around the island, the north island a little bit. And I looked out the my window, saw the coastline of Taiwan. A number came to my mind. And the number is number 27. Number 27. 27 is a year, the number year that I struggled with immigration. I struggled with depression. I struggled with anxiety. So in 27 years, it's a number of years that I could not go back to Taiwan, my birth country. So after high school, actually, let me back up a little bit. I immigrated here when I was 9 years old. I grew up in this neighborhood in St. Gabriel Valley, between here and Long Beach. So fast forward to in high school. High school, I start developing all these emotional, in a way, mental health challenges that, of course, back then I did not recognize. And the adults in my life did not recognize too. So what happened is after high school, I didn't pursue college because my self-esteem was so low that I didn't believe that I was smart enough, that I was capable to go to college. So for the next 2 years, I just wandered around aimlessly with no goal. I slept on people's couch, right? I crashed on my people's house, right? And adding to that, I didn't have any financial capability, right? So that's another reason I didn't go to college. So I would do odd-end jobs to just get by. And I still remember one afternoon, just sitting in the living room in Rosemead. I'm sitting in this, and it wasn't even my house, the house I was crashing in. I was home alone, everyone was out. I was literally sitting in this living room. I was 19 years old. And I feel this sense of hopelessness, helplessness. I haven't slept for days. I was so depressed. I was so down. So I still remember I was sitting there in the living room on the floor on this red carpet, crunched down. Didn't know what to do with my life. And I just started sobbing, crying. And I completely broke down, physically, emotionally, psychologically. I didn't know what to do with my life. Few months later, I had this amazing opportunity to go to Hawaii. So I found myself in Hawaii. And I was very, very fortunate to be connected with this amazing Hawaiian lady. Her name is Manu. She was the first female Hawaiian ever got her PhD from Harvard University. So through her grace, she allowed me to stay at her place for a few weeks. She invited me to shadow her around. So I stayed in her guest bedroom for 2 weeks and just observe her. I even went to one of her classes that she was teaching at the University of Hawaii in Hilo. And so throughout the whole, she was talking about grace. She was genuine. She was compassionate. She was kind. Not once she would put down at me, would guilt trip at me. Right? She treated me with respect. And toward the end of my stay with her, my visit with her, she taught me this concept of self-love. She literally would position in front of me of a mirror and invite me, encourage me to say, I love you to myself in front of the mirror. Of course, as a 19 years old immigrant, young man, young boy immigrant, I found this was very weird, right? But especially with our culture, as immigrant culture, what even beyond our Chinese, Taiwanese culture, we don't talk about love. We don't talk about self-care. We are here to survive. We are here to thrive. We're here to try to work. So for me, it was very oxymoron. It was weird. But what I did not know that experience planted this profound seed in my head. Despite that, at that moment, I hated. So, Mommy also encouraged me to go to college, which again, I didn't hear her. I didn't take her advice because I didn't think that I was smart enough. I was capable enough to go to college. So I departed. And a year later, I was able to save enough money to go back to Hawaii, and I visited her. And after my visit with her, I lingered around in Hawaii, specifically on Oahu, for a few more weeks. Again, I was, even at 19, 20 years old, my depression was on full blast. I was sleeping literally in someone's farm, in a barn. I wandered Hawaii aimlessly, took up some job here and there. And one afternoon, I decided to go surfing, actually go boogie boarding. The weather was perfect. It was semi-cloudy. The waves were beautiful with this nice wind blowing. So I was catching wave after wave after wave. And finally, I caught this big wave, probably the biggest wave of the afternoon. As I ride down the wave, suddenly there was an undercurrent pull me down. And literally, I was on my board. I dropped. My head hit the sand. I heard a little crack behind my neck. The first thought came to my mind was, screw this life. I'm going to college. So I literally picked up my board, went back to the farm, the barn I was staying. They had the old DSL, do you remember those? Like, you have to you make that funny sound to go online, like the cranking sound. I went, and for the next 2 days, I started applying for college. So that's how I ended up in college. And I was first person in my family ever attending college. I have to admit, it was very challenging for me, right? Don't get me wrong. I did study hard, I worked hard, and I party hard, right? We had to live little. But when I say lonely, I mean that I had to do everything by myself. I had no mentors, no friends, no families to help me with my college application. When I was struggling with my classes, with my relationship, maybe even with my future career, I had no one to process my hardship with, right? And just imagine, you can be on this busy campus, surrounded by thousands of people, but sometimes I feel so alone, so lonely inside. And on top of that, I was experiencing what we call imposter syndrome. Every day, there's this voice in my head that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm gonna fail, I'm not gonna finish college, I don't fit in here, right? And on top of that, I continue to experience with a severe depression. Every single day, I struggled to get on my bed, to go to my class, to go to work. So even though I was friendly, I was very social, I was very active on campus, but deep inside, I was in a lot of pain. And there were a handful of times that I tried. I did open up to a couple of my friends, share with them about how painful, like the suffering that I'm going through inside. And guess what? All of them told me I was too emotional for a man. All of them told me to man up. All of them told me that to just study harder, to work harder. Don't complain, right? And those responses were not helpful at all. Those responses hurt a lot, which further contributes to me shutting myself down, further contribute this whole mental health stigma in my head. So after college, I continued to struggle with my depression throughout my whole 20s and into my 30s. And on top of that, I was very, very frustrated with my people, our Asian Americans, right? Our community, that because we don't talk about this type of mental health stuff, right? With whatever family that I had left, I cannot share any of this openly with them. And because we don't acknowledge, we don't talk about this, we don't talk about mental health, right? And of course, now looking back, I understand why. Due to the cultural trauma, historical trauma, immigration trauma that we all have gone through, right? So again, I'm sharing this not to blame my people. I am a byproduct of my people, right? But I was frustrated. So unfortunately, the turning point was in my late 20s. Two significant events happened. First is I was connected with this amazing person. If I'm going to give her credit, Dr. DJ Ida. Amazing. She somehow she saw potential in me. So she brought me up as an intern and later offered me a position in her nonprofit organization. And the mission of the nonprofit organization is to promote mental health awareness within Asian American communities. That's one. The second event that changed my life was meeting my therapists. Through my friend's recommendation, I met my therapists. So these two life-changing events literally started my mental health recovery journey. So I'm going to focus on the story dedicating specifically to my therapist, Dr. Lisa Strober. So in fact, I met my therapists when I didn't have any financial capability. It was again through a recommendation through my friend. I show up, talk to her for a session. I just kind of let it out. I let it out. She sat there. By the way, she's not Asian. It's very interesting. She's Jewish. She has Jewish background. And the reason I'm saying that is that I sense her empathy through her. Maybe it had to do with her own background as well. I just remember, wow, for the first time, I had this safe space, also a courageous space, to talk about my pain without someone trying to give me advice, without someone trying to put me down. It was one of these very interesting experience with feeling that even back then I wasn't quite sure what's going on. I thought that this is not real, right? In our community, based on my experience, this is something very, very new. And at the end of our session, I told her, I said, thank you so much for your generous time. And unfortunately, I cannot afford to see you. And again, this is before Obamacare. And then back then, I didn't have any insurance. So I didn't have any financial means. So I told her, there's no way I can see you. And her reply was, don't worry, I will see you next week. And she even made me a promise at there. She said, to encourage you to come back to see me, this is my promise to you, is that I will see you, I will talk to you every single week until the day I die. And she kept her promise. We worked together, I worked with her for 9 years. Our last session was 3 days before she passed away. She had pancreatic cancer, very last minute, out of nowhere. And even 3 days prior to her, later on when I went to her funeral, her husband told me this. That day, an hour before our session, she paused her medication because she knew that she needed to talk to me. And she took her medication after we had our very last session. So again, I want to dedicate my story to my amazing therapist, Dr. Lisa Strober. And really with this 9 years of therapy, talking with me every single week, even when she was on vacation, it was amazing. And that really talking about recovery, talking about healing, talking about resiliency. I went through this whole phase. I went through the phase of denial. I went through the phase of anger. I went through the phase of breakthroughs, happiness, self-doubts, hope, right? And at this moment in my life, I'm really happy to say that after all these 9 years. And of course, I have to give credit to Dr. DJ Ida, working with her over 10 years, exposing me to different mental health information, data, knowledge, training that further my healing, further my education of these two amazing, wonderful people that now I'm living a happier life. That now I have my depression under management. We know that. Unfortunately, at this moment, even with our advanced medicine, there's no cure to depression. But I say that the tools that I've learned from them, I'm able to manage, will continue to recover, continue to practice resiliency. So I want to just end my story with this, that like, when I was in the midst of immigration and mental health crisis, I thought it was the end of my life. I thought it was it. Flash forward now to 2024, to this present day. For me, sky is limitless, just like hope and joy are limitless. That I'm so much happier, I'm so much fulfilled, I feel lighter, more at peace with myself. And there's no way I can have done it with those two amazing people, Dr. DJ Ida and Dr. Lisa Strober. And on top of that, all the great people, mentors, supporters in my life, communities, all these locally, there's a lot of amazing mental health community centers, resources. So I'm just extremely grateful. And despite that, the recovery process, it does take time. It can be long. It can be challenging. But I just want to remember myself and to you all, it's very, very possible. Very, very possible. And the reason I want to share my story, the reason I am sharing my story is that the young 19 years old kid sitting here in Rosemead in the living room had complete mental breakdown, emotional, psychological breakdown. That young man feel hopeless, helpless. All right. And I know that for a fact that there's a lot of other young men right now in 2024 are experiencing similar challenge. So I hope that my story can inspire them to do something, inspire them to seek help, inspire them to talk to someone. And if you're a family member, a friend, I hope that my story will inspire you to have the courage to reach out to your loved ones, to show them support. And then going back to this 19 years old boy, man, back then, right? With no resources, even though there might be resources back then, but I didn't know. Maybe I knew, but again, due to mental health stigma, that I didn't want to admit. So, I just want to, going back to this, I just want to remind you all that recovery can be long, can be challenging, but it's worthwhile, right? If your first attempt try to share or talk about your mental health challenge, if your first attempt seeking out a therapist, if these first attempts does not work out, it's okay. I encourage you to continue to try. Why? Because there are people who care about you. Because there are resources here. And we don't have to silence. We don't have to suffer in silence alone. There are always people who care about you. There are resources. So I encourage you, continue to progress. Continue to challenge yourself to seek help, because they are people that care and want to support you. So this is my story. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you.